When Demon Burial attacked Elizabeth, she blocked his assault effortlessly. The frustrated demon, Burial, wondered why his strongest swordsmanship had no effect on her. She didn't even block it. The attack just dissipated instantly. Elizabeth explained that the swordsmanship he used was of her creation. So of course it wouldn't affect me, she said. However, after seeing Leping's swordsmanship, she realized that the title of the strongest swordsmanship no longer held. Azathoth, furious, thought, "That's impossible. After adding the power of the host to my chaotic force, by the laws of this world, I should have reached the 2-star Demon King level." Elizabeth mocked him, saying he was just a frog in her eyes, and challenged him to use whatever he had. However, Azathoth realized there was no point in fighting with Elizabeth, and started to flee, thinking, "Let's not mess with her for now. I'll leave this place. Then I will unlock my body's seal and return with a more powerful form." But before he could leave, Elizabeth used her demonic hand to grab his clothes. Azathoth tore his clothes to free himself from Elizabeth, thinking he could now escape. But then Elizabeth used her other hand to grab him again. Azathoth realized that in this space, she was in control. "But what can you do to me? Unless you wish to kill me along with the host, no magic can dispel me." Elizabeth suddenly threw something at Azathoth, explaining that killing him was simple. She just didn't want to lose to the one waiting outside. So, she gave him some noodle soup. Azathoth angrily said, "I am the mighty lord of the Sea of Darkness. You stinky woman, how dare you humiliate me?" Suddenly, he noticed that the energy in the noodle soup was penetrating his cells and stripping him of his chaotic force. Azathoth started crying and asked Elizabeth what she had done to him. Afterwards, he floated away from the Sword Saint's body, and Elizabeth sold him. Elizabeth was disappointed, thinking that after all she had been through, she still ended up using something of his to resolve the situation. Everything ended as he planned. "I'm too weak, damn it," she thought. Meanwhile, outside, Leping waited for Elizabeth. Suddenly, a portal opened in front of him, and Elizabeth stepped out from the portal. Leping asked her, "Is it all right now?" Elizabeth, who was carrying the Sword Saint, replied, "You ask, despite knowing." After seeing the Sword Saint in this state, Leping closed his eyes and asked Elizabeth, "Why is she like this?" On the other side, Demon Burial, who had taken over the Holy Sword Alpha, was heading toward Leping's house. The next day, she finally reached Leping's house, but she stopped suddenly after seeing a robot dog. She was surprised to see the robot dog that had defeated her before. As the robot dog headed in her direction, she disappeared and started looking for another way in. Suddenly, the robot dog noticed and wondered, "Did something just fly away?" But the radar didn't find anything suspicious. "It's all that crazy woman's fault. After being beaten by her last time, errors keep popping up. How could she have become stronger again?" The robot dog wondered, crying at the thought that the crazy woman had learned Tai Chi from the master and become stronger. Fortunately, the reserve had been put in the cabinet, and the housekeeping mode was activated. The construction of the data cloud must be accelerated. Otherwise, one day she will destroy the chip. Meanwhile, Demon Burial found another way to enter Leping's house, but she suddenly stopped, thinking, "I have clearly gone to the other side. Why did that guy show up here then?" As she saw the robot dog in front of her, she realized that she couldn't get to the house from here, so she changed her direction, saying, "The target is right ahead. Let's just move aside to avoid that guy. No need to take the risk." But suddenly, she noticed the robot dog in front of her again. Surprised and wondering, "Why is this thing here too?" She changed her route again, but whichever direction she went, she found the robot dog in front of her. An hour later, after exploring every side of the house, she grew incredibly frustrated at seeing the robot dog everywhere. She prepared to attack, thinking he had discovered her early on and was toying with her. Transforming into Holy Sword Alpha again, she said, "It looks like if I don't confront the watchdog first, I won't be able to face that heartless person again. Come, you can kill me, but not humiliate me. Even if I'm on my last breath, I will be crawling on the ground to bite a chunk of you." On the other hand, the robot dog began scanning her identity in his database. However, as Demon Burial grew really angry and ran toward the robot dog to prepare her attack, the robot dog completed his identification. Master's item number 99999, danger level, D. Finding Holy Sword Alpha in his whitelist, he pulled out a welcome home poster from behind. Seeing this, Demon Burial stopped her attack but was utterly confused, wondering what it meant. The robot dog then gave her permission to enter the house. As Demon Burial finally reached her destination and saw the familiar scenery, she became emotional and said, "I'm finally back, the place where I was born." Reflecting on the past, a long time ago when Leping arrived in this new world as a hero, the system taught him many skills, including carpentry and blacksmithing. He used these skills to create his first weapon, an axe, which he named Da Zhuang. He used it to chop wood blocks. Meanwhile, Demon Burial, who is the spirit of the wooden axe, grew as she watched Leping chop wood. She loved her master each time he used her. However, one rainy day, like many others, Leping went to the forest to gather firewood, but after collecting the wood blocks, he forgot to take Demon Burial with him. Demon Burial tried to tell her master that he had forgotten her, but since she wasn't fully developed as a spirit, she couldn't talk. As she tried to stop Leping, it was already too late. She was left behind on that rainy day. Just like that, 15 years passed with her still waiting for her master, then 50 years, and even 200 years. After 500 years of despair and resentment, she became evil. One day, some people came to the forest. Among them was Elder Axe from the Sword Saint Guild, and members of the Dark Guild. He sold information about the Sword Saint Guild in exchange for something that could improve his strength. A Dark Guild member gave him a black liquid and asked him to drink it, claiming it was a new potion from the Dark Guild that could enhance strength. Elder Axe asked them, "Can I really become stronger by drinking this? If the person who wrote the spell doesn't convince me, I won't believe you." Nonetheless, he drank the black liquid without wasting any time. After drinking it, his body started changing, and a dark gray appeared on his chest. The power kept surging through his body, but suddenly a black aura emerged from the axe. Before anyone noticed, it killed all the Dark Guild members. Scared, Elder Axe thought, without detecting any magic power at all, it instantly killed the Great Apostle and 2 others. Could it be that old woman who was the president? As he approached this mysterious power, he realized it wasn't the Sword Saint. It was just an ordinary-looking axe. Suddenly, he heard a voice from the axe, asking him to kneel down. He knelt in front of the axe and asked. Demon Burial emerged and introduced herself. "My name is Evil Burial." She then asked Elder Axe if he wanted power, offering to give it to him. In the present, after finally reaching Leping's house and throwing down the body of Holy Sword Alpha, Demon Burial was seething with anger. "I've accumulated 500 years of resentment. So why is it that the first thing I think of when I come back isn't revenge, but nostalgia for the past?" she wondered. Suddenly she heard the sound of a door opening and was surprised to see Leping. She transformed into Holy Sword Alpha as Leping told Elizabeth he was going to check some firewood for cooking. "You two can talk first," he said, visibly pleased to see Holy Sword Alpha back. Hearing this, Demon Burial thought he recognized her. However, as he was speaking to Alpha, he asked, "Why did you suddenly disappear?" He was worried about how to chop firewood. Demon Burial angrily exclaimed, "No wonder this guy's resentment matches mine so well. It turns out he took my place. Heartless man. Would you rather use this broken sword than get me back?" Leping grabbed the sword and said, "Hey, if you ignore me, I'll start working." But she ignored him. Suddenly, she started feeling a familiar sensation. Leping noticed this and asked, "Why does holding you suddenly give me these long-lost feelings?" Demon Burial thought, "Stop pretending. Let me see what tricks you want to play first." As Leping prepared to chop the firewood, Demon Burial began remembering her long-lost feelings. She tried to refuse these feelings, thinking, "Heartless man, I won't lose to you." As Leping continued chopping the firewood, she couldn't hide her true feelings. After 500 years, she still couldn't forget the joy of chopping firewood with her master. Suddenly, Leping heard some strange noises and asked Alpha, "Did you make them?" But he said, "Never mind. I feel like I'm a perfect match for you today. Let's do something big." As Leping chopped the wood, her entire body started feeling really good. What she liked most was chopping firewood with her master. With every wood block Leping chopped, she felt more pleasure, saying, "That's it. Please use me to your heart's content." After chopping so many wood blocks, Leping realized that although he had made several axes before, none had the same suitable feel for chopping wood as today. Using Alpha to chop wood reminded him of the times he used Da Zhuang. Very enjoyable, he thought. Upon hearing this, Demon Burial realized that Leping had never forgotten her. This revelation made her feel relieved, and her resentment dissipated. Meanwhile, Leping said, "If it wasn't for the fact that the barrier was gone, and there were so many changes outside, I would want to go and get Da Zhuang back. This is the last time I'll chop wood with Alpha." Upon hearing this, Demon Burial started crying, thinking, "This is the last time. My body is gone, and it is impossible to chop firewood with you, master. What has sustained my soul to this day is the resentment accumulated over the past 500 years. But after seeing you, master, I can no longer hate you at all. Now that the resentment is gone, it's time for me to disappear too. I am honored to have been created by you, master, and I am very happy. I hope the next axe will be able to serve you better, master." After saying her last words, Demon Burial disappeared. Meanwhile, Leping told Alpha, "Don't be upset. I will make a suitable axe later. You will fulfill your duties as a holy sword from now on, and go out on adventures with me. After that, he left the Holy Sword Alpha and went into the house to cook. As Leping went into the house, Holy Sword Alpha transformed into human form. However, he looked really weak, thinking, "It's good for you guys. Now you've reconciled. What about me?" On the other hand, Elizabeth asked Sword Saint, "Why do you know her swordsmanship?" Sword Saint explained, "This started over 100 years ago. At that time, the Dark Guild began to rise, capturing people of different races everywhere in the hero's continent for experiments. Everyone who had the strength chose to protect themselves, and no one dared to lead the fight against the Dark Guild. Having just founded the Sword Saint Guild, I had no choice but to come to the demon realm alone to collect information. But soon my whereabouts were discovered, and the Dark Guild sent a large number of apostles to deal with me. At that time, I had just been promoted to the demon sect level, and I could only fight and run away from the siege of hundreds of apostles. In a panic, I was hit and fell into the abyss, where the Demon Queen's training ground was. Unexpectedly, under the abyss, there was a demon monument surrounded by magma. Seriously injured, I saw the remnants of the Demon Queen's sword technique left behind when Elizabeth once practiced here. Even though it was just a remnant, I imitated it, and my understanding of swordsmanship suddenly became enlightened, and I immediately began to absorb energy from the surrounding environment. In this way, she trained at the Earth's center training ground for 3 full months, until all remnants of the shadow disappeared. It's a pity that her talent is limited, and all she could master were some sword moves. She didn't fully understand Elizabeth's Demon Queen's sword technique, but it was still an earth-shaking change for her. She was promoted to the 3-star Demon King level in 3 months. While she was happy, she was also very troubled. After experiencing the Demon Queen's sword technique, she realized how high the sky is for swordsmanship, but there is only one chance. It is impossible to encounter the shadow of the Demon Queen again. Does that mean that the limit of my life has been determined? She wondered. However, when she was confused, she heard a voice asking if she wanted to become stronger. He could help her. Just then, Leping interrupted and asked Sword Saint what happened next. She explained that in order to continue to improve her strength to fight against the Dark Guild, she chose to accept its power and let it live in her body. However, it said that its body was still sealed and could not provide much power of chaos, so it gave her a tentacle as a weapon material. She was even more surprised to find out that Leping turned out to be the legendary hero and lived a secluded life with the Demon Queen. She wondered if he was going to question her now. After all, she had accepted the power of the Sea of Darkness. Elizabeth told Sword Saint that the body of that thing was sealed by her, and what contacted her was probably what that guy called the clone consciousness. Curious, Leping asked Sword Saint, "Hey, the tentacle you just mentioned, is it like an octopus? I've never tasted seafood from this world." Surprised, Elizabeth asked if it was delicious. Leping replied yes, saying he liked seafood in his previous world. However, he really didn't know what kind of monsters were in the sea. Confused, Sword Saint wondered, "Aren't we going to discuss the threat of the Sea of Darkness? Why did they suddenly change the subject?" However, Leping changed the subject and asked both of them to eat first. As he removed the cap from the pot, a bright light covered the whole room. Surprised, Sword Saint thought, "What's this? What a huge magical energy." This was curry inferno. Leping used top-notch ingredients to cook this, and upon seeing this, Elizabeth became really happy, as this was her favorite dish. She really enjoyed eating the curry, even though it was quite spicy. Disappointed by her reaction to the heat, she thought, "Damn, I am at the 7-star demon god level, and I still can't handle this spicy taste." Seeing Elizabeth struggle, Leping asked if she was okay and explained, "The peppers from this harvest are a bit spicier," then suggested, "It's better to add some of the newly bred ice crystal onions." Elizabeth agreed, and asked him to add some ice crystal onion. Leping chopped the onion into tiny pieces so quickly that it left Sword Saint shocked, thinking, he used dust chop on his palm. So skilled he said he didn't know any sword skills? What's more, the knife he was holding. As Leping added the chopped onion into the curry, the spiciness was reduced. He then asked Elizabeth to taste it again. However, Elizabeth didn't like the suggestion, thinking, is he mocking me, thinking I can't afford to eat it? She told Leping that he didn't have to worry because she wanted to eat spicy food. Leping also offered Sword Saint some food if she wanted. Surprised, Sword Saint asked, "Is it really okay to give it to me?" As he gave her the food, Elizabeth stopped him and said to Sword Saint, "You need to think carefully before eating because you can only choose one of the 3. Sword Saint asked, "What do you mean?" asking her to please make it clear. Leping, also curious, asked, "What 3 choices are you talking about?" Elizabeth used her demonic magic to present 3 items: a bowl of curry, Tai Chi swordsmanship technique, and the kitchen knife. Curious, Leping asked Elizabeth what she intended to do with these items. Elizabeth told Sword Saint, "Seeing that you are here to deal with the Dark Guild, I'll give you one of 3 choices. A whole pot of curry, Leping's knife, or a sword book." Surprised, Leping interjected, "Elizabeth, let me say something. The curry is no problem, and the swordsmanship is no problem either. I've learned them all, but I didn't say I wanted to give away the kitchen knife." Elizabeth shut him up, saying, "This is my test for her. This kind of game, testing mortals, is not exclusive to you. I want to play it." Leping, confused, wondered what game she was talking about. However, he agreed, saying, "You are the Demon Queen, and you have the final say." Now, Sword Saint was tested by 2 legendary figures, and the answer was hidden in their conversation just now. She thought, this pot of curry exudes a huge amount of magical energy, and just by thinking about it, I know that as long as I eat it, I'll immediately be able to advance to the Demon King level, or even up to 2 stars. But the fact that the Demon Queen deliberately tasted it in front of her implied that even she couldn't resist it. Even if it had been purified by a legendary hero, it might not be something a mere mortal like her could withstand. As for this kitchen knife, all the S-class weapons she owned were immediately eclipsed in front of it, and the so-called Swordmaster seems to be a joke. The legendary hero had just given her a personal demonstration, and also hinted that he didn't want to give her the knife because he knew she couldn't handle it at all, warning her not to overestimate her capabilities. Neither the curry nor the kitchen knife could be selected. That left only the unfathomable sword manual. She told Elizabeth she would choose the sword book, but suddenly, someone broke down Leping's house door. Everyone was surprised. However, Leping noticed it was Holy Sword Alpha and asked, "What are you doing?" Holy Sword Alpha was really angry, exclaiming, "I'm so resentful, I'm going to kill all of you now." However, Sword Saint sensed some familiar energy from Holy Sword Alpha and thought, "This feeling is unmistakable. This is the evil burial. He must have known that I wasn't dead yet, so he chased me here. I can no longer trouble the hero and the Demon Queen." She asked Leping to lend her his kitchen knife, intending to solve her own troubles by herself. As she held Leping's kitchen knife, she felt a really powerful magic power emanating from it. What a powerful sense of oppression. It's a realm. The kitchen knife actually contains a realm inside it. However, Leping's kitchen knife was too powerful for her. Her magic power was instantly sucked dry. As all her magic power was drained, she fainted. But before she fainted, the kitchen knife slipped from her hand and started moving toward Holy Sword Alpha. Holy Sword Alpha became really scared as he saw the kitchen knife heading toward him. With just a little force, Leping's kitchen knife cut Holy Sword Alpha into 2 pieces. After cutting Holy Sword Alpha into 2, the kitchen knife returned to Leping. Upon seeing this horrible scene, Leping was really shocked, wondering what had just happened.